Right, it's Friday the 13th of July 2007, just coming up to 4 o'clock. I got a text from my wife. They did another pressure check. It was 24. Yesterday it was 23. Remembering over 20 they'd worry about anyway, and that was our initial numbers anyway, was 20, and then it went up to 30, 40 and 60 or whatever. So she's still on the diagnostic tablets. There's a sound going off and on. She's dexamethasone, so I'm still concerned with the dexamethasone that she had. They said no, that's okay, because they think that after doing these procedures, pressure usually goes either low or high. Last time it was low because it was only 8, whereas it should have been about 10, 13. So this time it's gone higher. So they're sending her home. She's going back on Tuesday for a checkup. We're going to hope that, or pray that that pressure goes back down. Otherwise, you know, as one of the surgeons said to her, that, you know, he thinks that she's going to need more work done. I don't think he necessarily meant now, but in the future. Which, you know, is a bit, considering this was all due to the steroids they gave her to correct the rejection, but the problem is you never know that at the time. You never know how people are going to react, so it's not their fault. They did all they could do to save the rejection. But I think she did have glaucoma from the original cornea emplacement. So it looks like we're going through another complication. Obviously I'm thinking, you know, as you would, that, you know, before the stitch came out, her pressure was 13 and 12 and 14 and 8, and these were good numbers and everything looked okay. Was if that stitch had stayed in and it had healed up properly, you know, would that number have stayed the same? Is it because we had to do this other bit of procedure, surgery, that now it's jumped up to 23? Or is it, you know, something happened, a pressure went up and that pushed the stitch out? You know, now I'm worrying about that. You know, if we find that we have to have another operation just to get it back down again, we'll always be thinking, is it because of that stitch came out? If it hadn't, would everything have been fine? So this has got her worrying now, because she's coming home anyway, that, you know, she might have future operations to go, and they'll probably do another trachelectomy or whatever it is. They'll do another one of those cuts, a slit. I think they can do 2 before they run out of space, and then they have to do, because they can block just like the normal mesh that has blocked in her eye. I don't know if they're both working. I assume that's working still at whatever rate it can. But then they'd be talking about an amide valve, an actual valve inside. That's the last one they can do. I think they tried 2, and then they would do an amide valve. Maybe they would even do an amide valve next time, which is going to be a lot more painful, because it's actually a foreign object that stays in there and it regulates. They set it to regulate at 13 or whatever. So hopefully, you know, once the rejection as it is over, you know, this only happened because she had to take those steroids, and possibly because of the rejection. So if that never happens again, she never has to take the steroids, which is on the moment dexamethasone, then maybe this pressure thing, you know, will stay steady as it has done for the you know, most of her life. Even after the corneal emplacement, you know, it's been staying steady. It will only flutter up and down once or twice. But yeah, it's more to worry about for her, and obviously still in pain, but only on paracetamol, and obviously because those tablets, codeine, and possibly the tramadol. No, it wasn't tramadol they gave her. What was it? It was morphine. She's constipated again, which she's got before anyway, so that's not helped. So we just have to wait and see what happens. She goes back on Tuesday. They seem to not be worried about the pressure, so hopefully this time they're right and it will go down, and, you know, the stitches will dissolve nicely, and the wound will be healed. There'll be no infection. You know, that's another thing, is the pressure up because of an infection. They say the pressure up is because their eye's a little bit swollen, because of the procedure, because their eye was already sensitive. So I don't know how they would have done this under local anaesthetic. You know, look at what's happened under general. I don't know if general's more complicated, but under local, no wonder she couldn't do it. I mean, look at the pain I saw. She was physically in pain, which when she had the initial pressure procedure 2 weeks ago, she was in pain. She said she's in pain, but I couldn't physically see it. Whereas when she came out of theatre this time to put the 4 stitches in, her face is all screwed up. She was in agony, and they'd already given her paracetamol, diacodine, and morphine, and she was still in the same amount of pain. And imagine how could they have done that under local anaesthetic. I can only assume that maybe the procedure is different, it's more complicated if you do it general, I don't know. But no wonder she couldn't do it. Maybe, like they said, because they didn't realise it had weeping this much and it had swollen this much, that's probably why she couldn't do it. So I think it's better that it was done this way. Or otherwise, she might have been midway in so much pain that they couldn't continue, and that could have been a worse thing. Or she could have moved when they were putting the stitch in. I don't know if they do it with some kind of needle or some special instrument, but they don't want her moving about. So that's all done. Now we just got to wait for the results, which is always the worst thing. At least last time when we got the results the next day, we had an 8 and a 10, I think it was. And I thought, well, yeah, it's definitely worked. It's all been worth it. But now, knowing that it was 23 yesterday and now the pressure's 24, which is the thing that the operation was about, and not knowing whether there's a bit of infection or not, and the swelling, and whether this is going to even make more complications with the rejection, which had seemed to have coped with it. So it makes us wait again for Tuesday for when they do another pressure check and they see how it is, and then they're saying that they're not worried about it, but then they always say things like that because they assume for the better based on what they can see. But until that moment comes on Tuesday when they say, yeah, your pressure's 10 or whatever, and yeah, your rejection's fine, and the stitches look good, and your eye's less swollen, and you're in less pain. Even she said today her pressure was up again. I can't remember what she texted me. I think she texted me 138, which is normal, but the second number was 85. It's not, it's a little bit over, but usually I think it's 130 over 60 or 70, isn't it? So 85 is a little bit. That's the blood coming back. But that could be an indication of the pain she's going through, because pressure does go up. So anyway, we've got to wait to Tuesday, and hopefully no more complications, everything to go smoothly this time. Anyway, that's all for me from now.